Am I live? What's happening here? Oh no. My internet's not really all that fantastic right now, but we should be okay anyway. Let's just refresh. Okay. Hello, hello. Come on in, guys. Come hang out for a while. So I'm going to get to the things that I wasn't able to get to on day 3. And day 4, I'm not going to lie, guys, if you were here, I was exhausted and I didn't do a whole lot of talking. I put a lot into the 3-day masterclass and I was a little stressed. And so I didn't have enough time in day 3 to get to this part and I had promised this information. So I wanted to come in and make sure that I presented this information on intuition that I had prepared for you guys. And I had planned on doing it yesterday, and then I forgot it was Monday. So here I am today. I hope you can all see me and hear me. In order for me to see your comments and who is commenting, I'm going to need whoever's here to do me a giant favor and click on the blue StreamYard link. I think it's in the comment. I think it's in the description, or at least it should be. And yeah, put your, and comment, say hi. Hi, Janine. I'm glad you caught me too. So I'm a lot later than I normally am, but I had to do end of month inventory at the store tonight. So I walked in the house a little bit after 8. So I'm just getting set up here with my little rigged up setup I got going on here. Please, when you come in, tell me, comment, tell me you're here. Hi. Whoever just commented, I don't know who you are because it won't tell me who you are. Let's see if we can figure out an easy way to do this. What I need to do is, I know it's hard for you guys to make. Oh, Jenna. Hi, Jenna. It's good to see you. Let me see if I can copy and paste a link for you guys real quick for people that come in. Normally, I upgraded this app, and so I'm having a hard time figuring out why it didn't put the link above the video. Usually it puts that blue link above the video and people can just click on that, but it didn't show up in the description above the video. So let's see. Here, learn more. Ask your viewers to visit. Let's see if I can copy and paste that. Oh, here we go. This is where you go. Okay, I'm part retarded. That's a bad word to use. I'm just a little slow when it comes to tech sometimes, but I'm actually doing pretty good right now. Okay, I'm going to put it in the comments for you guys. Anyone that comes in, if you have not done this before, StreamYard is a live streaming app that helps me to be able to see all the comments. Facebook does not always let me see the comments, and so I am guaranteed to not miss any comments. It also has better video than Facebook Lives, and I also have the option to record it off of Facebook. So I am going to get in the habit of using this all the time. I just put the link in the comments. So if you want to click on that, all you got to do is type in your name. That way I know who you are when you comment, because I can only pay attention to one screen at a time. Sweet. It did show up in the comments. Go me. So welcome, welcome. I hope everyone's having a great day. I am not that great at smushing a lot of information into a small video. And so I overplanned, I think, and probably repeated information a little too much in the 3-day masterclass. But I had like a good amount of information left over that I never got to. I think day 3 was probably my favorite of the days because Mike was on there with me, and Michael and I have a fun chemistry together, and we had a lot of fun with it. But because we were hanging out together and babbling back and forth and having a great conversation, I didn't get to the second half of the presentation that I wanted to do on day 3. So yeah, you do only have to do it once, and then it's good forever. So Jenna, if you're still here, if you click on that link, streamyard.com/Facebook, and just put your name in, then I'll be able to see it here, and I won't have to keep going back to Facebook to see who it is, because I won't be able to tell if someone else comes in. I won't be able to tell if that's still you or if it's somebody else that hasn't signed up. So that's how that works. So let's get to intuition. What do you say, guys? Get yourselves like a cup of tea and just come hang out for a little while. So we did talk a little bit about it, but we didn't go into it too deeply. On day 3, we talked about intuition and how intuition is just a funny thing, because intuition is something that we want to learn about and we want to use it, but it's not something that we do. Intuition is something that you allow, or something that you listen to, or that you focus on or pay attention to. It's not something that you can do. It's something that happens automatically. And so I think that a lot of us living in our world in a very outward way, where we focus on things that are going on outside of us a lot, in the world outside of us a lot, we don't focus as much on our inner world. And so we kind of have a very quiet intuition and a very quiet inner voice because we don't often focus on it. The more you focus on it and the more you listen to it, the more you trust it and listen to that guidance, the louder it gets and the easier it is to discern it from what goes on outside. So the easier it is to discern whether or not it's fear or intuition, or whether it's your ego or intuition, or whether it's programming or intuition. But the way to find out is to practice and to listen to it and to trust it. And that's the hardest part. So intuition is hard to explain because it's a little bit different for everyone. And we filter it through our body. We filter it through the 5 senses. And we use those 5 senses, our 5 senses on the outside are taste, touch, smell, and all of those, sight and hearing. We use that because those are the concepts that we have for being able to take in information. But when you have intuitive sight, intuitive hearing, intuitive feeling, that's all on the inside. Most of the time, now not always, but most of the time, you're not physically seeing a being, or physically seeing visualizations. It's not in the physical world that you see with your physical eyes. It's in the mind's eye. And so it comes through the 5 senses, but intuition comes through the 5 senses in a very internal way, where you can get actual physical, real feelings that you can't tell the difference. When you get intuition in a way that you can't tell the difference between the inner and outer, that usually happens when you are having feeling, like when you feel something in your body. So like your fight flight, your gut feelings, your intuitive, your sixth sense, when your body tells you that something isn't right. So the Google definition of intuition is to understand something intuitively. So it's an immediate understanding of something without conscious reasoning or a reason for knowing it. So there's no one told you the information. You didn't read something that allowed you to come to this conclusion. It's something that you just know, right? It's an instinct. It's a feeling rather than something that you ascertained or came up with from things that you viewed and observed in your outside world. So it's generally interpreted as a knowing or a feeling, but in my opinion, it's a very personal thing, and we all experience it just a little bit differently. We have things in common when it comes to intuition, but I think that it's a very personal experience because it is, in my opinion, a language between the universe and you. And so it is a conversation, a constant communication between the spirit world and the physical world. So between your body is the medium. So you're here in a physical body, but you're a soul having a physical experience. And your soul having this physical experience in this body experiences the spirit world where the rest of your soul and the rest of your being is not in this body, will be able to connect with that through the body. And so we are able to connect with the unseen world with our body, using our body as the medium. And I feel like there's a lot of teachings out there that teach people that they should, maybe transcend the ego or to transcend this physical experience, where that must be done in order to have enlightenment. And what I was saying in day 3, where we were chatting about that, was that sure, we definitely want to figure out our triggers. Absolutely. We want to get over our fears. We want to not be triggered by things that happened in our past. We want to not come from a place of woundedness. We want to come from a place of wholeness, right? Where we're not judging and we're not offended easily, and we see things for what they really are. But we can do that without having to, try to meditate until, we're not in our body. We can do it by dropping into the body. We don't have to transcend this experience in order to have a very good relationship with intuition. In fact, for women, I believe that it's the way to actually really experience spirituality. The best way to experience spirituality for a woman is through the body. Our body is a portal. A female's body is a portal between the world of the unseen and the physical world. We are literally portals for souls and humans. And so for us, at least, it's a very personal thing, and it has very much to do with the body. And so most of the feminine mystery schools and the women's spirituality that I have learned, in fact, all of the ones that I'm aware of, teach women's spirituality in a very embodied way, where we actually learn how to feel our bodies and to use that as our bridge into the spirit world. And I know that's a little different than what a lot of people talk about when it comes to spirituality, but it's extremely helpful. Believe me, it's powerful when you realize that you don't really feel your body all the way. You don't really feel your body. You're not present in your body in the way that you should be or could be. Because I believe that our consciousness tries to leave the body when we have traumatic situations, right? So this can be any kind of physical abuse. It can be, it can be anything, really, anything traumatic. And I think that because we try to disassociate from it, especially things that are really bad, they'll cause our consciousness to kind of try to get away from the body in a way so that we don't have to feel it. And then we lose contact with that. And that's why you'll see a lot of women talking about, healing the pelvic floor and getting back into the womb space and healing the womb space, because our womb space is directly connected to our creativity. Even for men, that chakra, the sacral chakra, is connected to their intuition. I mean, into their creativity. And we are creative beings. That's what we're here for. We're here to create. We're mini creators. And so, yes, universe has always been, yeah, the universe does always talk to all of us. And the thing is that we just don't realize it. But once we realize it, it becomes something like, oh my God, what was I didn't realize I was missing this whole time. And it's a very personal experience. We all experience it differently. And so it's an intercommunication between us and all forms of consciousness. We can even communicate with each other in that way. I just don't believe that most of us have even gotten to that point where we can understand ourselves and our own relationship with the unseen, let alone connect it. But there is a field of energy, a field of consciousness that connects all of us, all living beings, including all the rest of the life on the planet, in my opinion, and probably cosmic bodies too, planets. And I think that all life is connected, and that we all have this shared energy, this shared life force that runs through us all. And because of that, we have a direct link to each other, and we just haven't figured out how to do that. I do think that telepathy is possible, and I think that it probably happens in some cases. And all of this stuff, I believe, is accessible to all humans. But I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to play around and tell you that you could just practice this once or twice, take a course, watch some videos, read some books, and then you're going to be an intuitive, and you'll have no worries, and you won't ever have to second guess anything, because that's not true. It takes a lot of practice, because we are unlearning. This is what I described the other day, and it's funny. It sounds crazy, but we say things are second nature. That's because it's not what comes to us naturally. It's what we were taught. So we were taught a program that overrode our first nature instincts and our first nature thinking. And so that's the second nature stuff that we have learned in our society and our schools. We have to get back to those first nature thinking, that first nature skills. And that's what intuition is. It's one of those first nature things that we were born with, but we did not learn how to use. And we didn't use it. And so it becomes kind of dormant and it gets quiet. And so and all of this, even, law of attraction and manifestation, all of that, it's a type of thinking that most of us are just not used to thinking like. I mean, the world that we live in has us thinking in a very, very different way. It's not bad. It's not good. It just is. And so that's why you'll catch a lot of people that talk about this stuff repeating themselves often, because it's something that you do have to listen to a lot and think about a lot in order to start to change your neuroprogramming in your brain, because it's a different type of thinking and it's a different type of neural pathways that are formed in the brain. And so this is beneficial, practicing intuition, even if you don't plan on being, a professional psychic, or even if that's not something that's interesting to you. It's a muscle that you can use to your advantage in many, many areas of life. It can be used for a lot of things. Some different ways that you can use intuition. You could use it. It comes in the form of the clair senses, and I'll explain those in a few minutes. But it's also, it could be gut feelings. It could be visions that you see in the mind's eye. It could be feelings in the body. It could be, hang on one second. It could be astral traveling. It could be remote viewing. It could be dreams, messages that you get in dreams. There's a couple different types of dreams, or sleeping, or meditating, different levels of consciousness that our mind that our brains go through. every morning when we wake up and every night when we go to bed. Just for instance, that happens to us all every day, where we go through a series of 3 different levels of consciousness of waking and sleeping. That's called a circadian rhythm. That's what meditators, that are people that really practice meditation, are capable of doing, is changing their consciousness, the type of brain waves that the brain produces. It's the type of consciousness that the brain is in. And so this is something that can benefit us in many, many, many ways. You can learn how to heal yourself this way. You can access information on how to have better relationships, on what the best career is, on financial things. You can get messages from your higher self that could teach you, like I said, healing modalities. And it might be something that you've never heard of or that no one else is teaching, but it might be something that's specifically good for your body and your situation. And so I try to advise people to always listen to what their intuition is telling them, but we can't unless we practice with it and we learn how to use it. Intuition can also show up in like the form of passions, things that you're interested in. It can show up in desires. It could show up as various different types of spirit beings. It could be spirit guides. It could be ancestors. It could be angels, gods and goddesses, ascended masters. All of these are real in a non-physical way, and we can interact with them through our intuition. So with our inner senses. And so at first, when you first start practicing and you first start getting into it, I would suggest to keep it as simple as possible and just work with your higher self. And if you'd like to work with something that isn't you, then I would try to stick with one thing, like either just general spirit guides or maybe ancestors, or something simple and something that's easy for you to believe in, something that you already believe in, and you won't be second guessing it, because trusting the intuition is going to be one of the biggest hurdles to get over. It's hard to trust that. You wonder, like, is that my imagination? Did I really get that message? And often they won't make sense. But the more you listen to it anyway, the more you'll see in the long run that it makes sense. So I recommend getting a journal for this and journaling down the messages that you get, and try your best to actually trust it and follow through with whatever advice or information that you're getting. And you'll see in time, when you go back through those pages of that journal, you'll see that it didn't make sense to you, but you followed it anyway, and you didn't realize, lo and behold, you go back and read it and you're like, oh, that actually worked out for me. In the long run, it winds up working out. These things can be spontaneous, but then you can also have them be intentional. You can intentionally ask for help with your intuition. You can ask your higher self. You can ask your spirit guides. You can just ask in general. I do believe that we have teams of spirit beings around us at all times, and that that we always have access to, that we just have to ask. Exactly. Physical signs and symbols is another thing, or like angel numbers. One of the first things that I learned was to ask for proof, right? So to tap into, to just calm yourself and to just ask your spirit guides. Thank you for protecting me and watching over me at all times. Please watch over me at all times. If I'm on the right path, please show me a sign, and tell them what sign. Pick your sign. Mine was a feather. Oh, Janina, I don't know if you've heard this story. So the first time I did this, I was living in South Philly, and I asked my spirit guides for a symbol. The teacher that I was learning from, the mentor that I was learning from, called it proof in the real. And so I picked a feather, and I asked them for proof in the real. And I'm not kidding, the next day, I hear all this screaming, and I had a third floor balcony, and I went outside, and there's always pigeons in South Philly hanging out on the deck. And I go out, and there's feathers everywhere. And no one can figure out why, but this pigeon just burst. And like there was feathers and blood everywhere. Like the thing just like exploded. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is crazy. Like, I guess I should have been more specific. Like, don't kill the bird to give me the feather, But it was like one of those like, oh boy, be careful what you wish for. But spirit can be really powerful like that. And yeah, you could say, oh, well, that's just in my head. Like, that didn't really happen. But the thing is that when you say it out loud and then you talk about it and you bring it into the world, like that's why I say, write it down, say it out loud, the messages that you get, because it will help them to be more real. And then you'll have a hard time dismissing it as your imagination if you actually say it out loud, because the more I tell this story, the more I realize that, like, I can't make that up. You know what I mean? I couldn't have made that up. So, but if I hadn't have told the story to anyone and I hadn't wrote it down, I probably would have forgotten that it ever happened, and I probably would have, had maybe a completely different experience with my intuition after that, So you never know. And yeah, always ask, because I do believe that even if we're not getting this information from somewhere outside of ourselves, I believe that we have all the answers for ourselves. So if you ask, even if you don't know where you're getting the answer from, I believe that your higher self will give you the answers that are correct for you. A lot of people that teach intuition talk about the 5-second rule. And this is where they say, in the first 5 seconds that you interact with intuition, it's either it's the first message that you get when you ask a question, or it's the first inkling that you get when you it's the first thing that comes through when you calm your mind, is within the first 5 seconds, you always trust that whatever comes through first, the quickest thing is usually the most correct and on point intuitive hit. Anytime after 5 or 7 seconds or so, that's when your brain starts to kick in and your analytical mind starts to think about it and second guess it. And that's when you can get, that's when you can have your mind take over, and it might not be quite so accurate after that, because that's what our brains do. Hi, Elia. You are finally here. What's going on? Were you doing your live? Yeah, overthinking is an issue. You do. You always get an answer. You do. So you can intentionally ask your intuition questions, or you can ask a spirit guide. And, you can talk to specific spirit guides. Like, if you know that there is a being there, you can absolutely go into a deep meditation and see if you can't get their name and their physical, appearance. If you can ask them for messages, you can ask them, all sorts of for information. But that was hard for me at first. I had belief problems. I wasn't sure whether I believed in spirit beings. And so it was harder for me to do it that way. I had to just be like higher self or universe and just keep it really simple. No, I just hung up at the diner making. Oh, you were hanging out and making dinner with your kiddo. What'd you guys eat for dinner? Yeah. I feel like a lot of people that maybe have had, like, maybe grew up in religious environments, or were part of organized religion, or were force-fed beliefs in any way, shape, or form, might have issues with belief, especially around, spiritual stuff. I know I did. And so I'm still trying to get over that in a lot of ways. I'm still really triggered in a lot of ways, when it comes to religious trauma. Like, it's not one of those, It's just not something that you get over right away. And the thing is that sometimes I can't figure out why I'm still so mad about it, because it's not something that really affected my life like it did with other people. You know, there are definitely people that have been through far worse that, you know, anyway, there are definitely people who should be a lot more triggered than me. And I wonder why. It's not even like a trigger anymore, though. I just get angry. I just get mad because it's abusive. And I know how damaging it is. Like our society will call out our society will call out a narcissist, and they'll call out all kinds of abuse and relationships and all sorts of other things like that, but they never talk about the institutions. Oh, really? My cat has an opinion on that. Kingston, man. My mom let the cat in and he's on the bed yelling. That's what he does. He's my boss. He tells me what to do. Religious trauma is for real. Just knowing the history of religion has affected me. Yeah, maybe it is past life trauma, because I do feel like a lot of us are holding epigenetics. Epigenetics has the studies of genetics and DNA has come to the conclusion, and if you need, I can find some resources for you, come to the conclusion that we hold memory in our DNA from our ancestors. And so it could be past life, but it could also be ancestral. It could be stuff that our ancestors went through. And I think that from all the years of what was done to women and what was done, especially in the name of religion. I mean, let's be honest here. I say this all the time. Like, I don't understand how people can be like all into conspiracy theories, not trust the government, and then turn around and be like all religious. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Mm-hmm. And it kind of makes me kind of angry. But, you know, I mean, I just get annoyed with it because it's toxic. And they do it to kids. They indoctrinate kids in that way that just, ugh. But I think that we feel like all the trauma that's gone on, especially with women. I think that a lot of us are afraid to step into our power because of what had been done to women in power, women who had tried to step into their power, you know, even in the past. If water can hold memories, yeah, exactly. Water holds memories, and our DNA is actually, I think it's Billy Carson, that talks about a study being done or some sort of scientific thing being done where they stored like a book on a tiny little fraction of DNA. Greg Braden talked about that.
Yeah.
So, and apparently you can like put a ton of information on a very, very small particle of our DNA. And so I think that our DNA probably holds a lot more than we could ever be aware of. Give me your children.
Well,
Yep. That's what they're into. They're into, she says, the head of Seventh-day Adventist said, give me your children for the first 7 years and they will belong to the church forever. Because that's what it is. It's mind control. It's mind control. Yep.
I just wanted to share. I mean,
Mike, come on in. Say hi.
Sure?
Share.
I don't want to interrupt.
We have Janine and Elia here. They're hanging out.
Okay. Hi, guys. The water thing that was one of the things I studied a lot during quarantine, and I just wanted to touch on that. Like, to anybody who's not familiar with that, you know, just so it's on the live as well, for people to go back and replay and learn something is, scientists took a drop of water and they wanted to see how much memory a single drop of water could hold. And they developed this technique. I do not know the scientific technical terms behind how they did it, but I know that there was it was a microchip basically that had a platform for the drop of water and the electrical currents in the chip to basically store the information onto the drop of water through these currents. And they began to, like she said, upload books upon books upon books, and eventually became libraries upon libraries upon libraries.
In water or in DNA?
In a single drop of water.
Right.
In a single drop of water.
I was talking about DNA, but yeah.
Well, they did that too with DNA, but what they initially...
But water, yeah.
With a single drop of water, though, like what's even more amazing is that it was so much information. The scientists were beyond perplexed, and they were like, something went wrong. We have to...
No, but they were able to upload it off of that, weren't they? With the DNA, they were. I don't know about the water.
Yeah, definitely not with the water. I'll have to go into deeper
with
research.
The DNA, they were actually able to upload it back onto a computer from the DNA.
I have heard that, yeah.
Yeah.
So just...
Exactly,
quick,
we're made of water. Everything that's alive is.
Yeah, exactly. And water, it's amazing the way it works. Nobody knew that. Well, our ancients knew this, but we figured it out in a different way. So as I was saying, the scientists were so perplexed. They were like, something went wrong. We got to go into this and evaluate what went wrong, and they found out that the information actually was not stored in the drop of water itself. It was stored in a field around the drop of water.
Yeah, I remember this now.
In a field around the drop of water.
Yeah,
so
the field.
It held almost as much content as a supercomputer in a single drop of water. And I think that might possibly be where they got the idea to introduce information into DNA as well. I'm not sure which one came first, but...
Well, there's a field around us too, and there's a field around everything. There's a field, I mean, I think that's what dark matter is. I think that there is a field that is, some people call it Akasha, some call it, what was it? What's his name? Tesla called it Akasha, and I think Einstein called it, what did Einstein call it? Spooky action at a distance, where it seemed like things were interconnected that were very far from each other, and that they had no way of actually, communicating with each other that we could figure out, but yet they still can communicate, across space and time. And so
instantaneously.
There's also been other scientists in the early 1900s that tried to prove that this field existed, and something messed up with their, I don't know all the details, but I can find it for you. Something got messed up with their experiment. And it wasn't until about 100 years later that these experiments were redone, and it was found out that they were right the whole time, and they figured out what had gone wrong with their experiment. But imagine if 100 years before we had found out that this was a thing. And this is something that is provable with quantum physics. There's no doubt about it. Any real scientist would tell you, you really can't deny it. But yet mainstream don't really want to talk about it, and they act like it's pseudoscience, but it really is not. I mean, it certainly looks like, and I believe that there's an intelligent consciousness behind everything, because quantum physics kind of has proven that. I mean, it has proven that according to me, but I can see why a scientist would say, well, that's not 100% proof. It's not a smoking gun. I mean, I can see, I guess, why doubtful minds would think that. But for anyone who knows all this, and anyone who doesn't believe in coincidence, and anyone who has had the kind of life that I have had, where I really shouldn't be here and things should not have gone the way they did, I do believe in miracles, and I don't believe in coincidences. And to me, it says that there is an intelligence behind everything. Sometimes. Is it really typing my words before I say them? It's because there's probably a lag between the live and your feed, but that is funny. It's not reading my mind, I promise. That's not the field I'm talking about. That's funny, but yeah, shit, I wouldn't be surprised. AI is getting pretty crazy. So who the hell knows what they're going to get into?
One of the other amazing things too is the way that like certain films. I mean, I'm just going to refer to one for right now. But has anybody here seen Frozen 2?
I don't think I saw the second one. Did I see
No?
it with you?
I don't think so, actually.
Then I don't think
I
we
watched
did.
it by myself.
I like Disney movies and,
you know,
and what do you call them?
Frozen 2
Pixar
actually
movies.
Frozen 2 actually talks about it tells you briefly on how water stores memory. It stores the entire
Oops. Oops.
uh-oh.
It's all right. Don't
There
worry
it
about it.
goes.
We have a really rigged here. We have a second monitor that we set up on a phone with a tripod, and the tripod's crap, and it's leaning on a bed, and so yeah, it's just a mess, really. But we got off the script anyway, like what we were gonna like talk about. I got most of it done. I'm gonna I'm gonna put a handout in the group to explain like what all the Clairs are and how, yeah. I'm going to at some point have to find out some sort of like place where I can actually record things that are going to be like professional. Because like I have the information to do it. I just got to figure out a way to do it without making myself look like an idiot because I have everything rigged. But I will eventually be able to upload actual real videos to the website and YouTube at some point, but for now, this will do because at least we got the information, right? Like that's the most important part is that the knowledge is here, and we're entertaining as hell too. I have so much fun though talking to you guys. I have so much fun coming on here. So, yeah, it's all good. I'm going to put a handout on the Clairs. You guys know about the Clair family? So, that's another thing that I'll talk about so that people in the replay will actually get the information that I meant to give them. So you have clear audience, which is clear hearing. You have clairvoyance, which is clear vision. You have clairsentience, which is clear feeling. You have claircognizance, which is a clear knowing. It's the you just know things, downloads, things like that. You have clairgustance, which I believe is scent, smell. Something that, when you smell, like say you're in a haunted house and you know that there's some paranormal activity and you like smell cigarettes, but no one has smoked cigarettes in years, or you smell perfume of a dead relative and you just kind of know they're around you. That's what that is. And then there's taste too. I can't remember the name of that one. Yeah, Janine, I can't wait until conditions are perfect. I've been holding this stuff in for 5 years, waiting for things to get better and waiting to come up with the guts to do it. You know what I mean? Because it's just not easy putting yourself out there. You might think that like it's easy for me by the way I am on lives, but this is years of doing this. I've been doing this since 2018, off and on, and talking myself into getting back in front of a camera and everything. And I've actually had like people that I loved and that were friends of mine tell me that like I was doing this for attention and because I thought I was special and like all kinds of stuff like that. But I feel like anybody who is trying to do anything important and that they're meant to do and to fulfill their purpose in life gets met with those kind of things. It's almost like it's a requirement in order to like actually become successful at anything, that you have to like kind of face those kinds of obstacles. And so it's just, yeah, I held myself back for long enough and I'm done doing that. And so here I am, and I'm going to tell people all the things that I feel like I need to tell them. And I just don't even care anymore. At one point, we all always care to a certain extent, But I feel like in this past year, I just got to the point where I just don't give a shit what anybody thinks anymore. I'm just like, whatever. If you're not impressed, then okay, that's fine too. And if you think I look stupid, then okay, that's fine. And if you don't like what I'm talking about or my message, then guess what? It wasn't for you anyway. And don't let the door hit you in the behind on the way out, because that's fine. Go find somebody who you do want to pay attention to. Because I'm not here for to be like Insta famous or to be like, oh, I don't know, go viral. Like, I don't need millions of fans. I'm just here for the people that I'm meant to talk to, bring a message to. Exactly. Bring the right people to you. Exactly. Yeah, they could go fly a kite. That's a good one. My dad always says, don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. And so that's where I got that from. My dad loves to would say that. Yeah. But I think that, like, and I'm not going to hold it against people. I think everybody thinks differently. You know, my friend that said that to me was the type that, like, went to college, got 3 degrees, you know, is very analytical thinking, like, doesn't believe in anything mystical. Like, she really thinks that she's insignificant and that we're all insignificant and that there's no meaning behind anything. She's one of those scientific people. Even though she's down to earth, she's one of those people that would not see that the universe is intelligent and that quantum physics like we do. And I can understand that. But that's just not who I am. Like, I know in my gut, in my heart and soul, that I wouldn't be sitting here right now if there wasn't a purpose for it. You know what I mean? Like, and maybe it is because I almost died. Like 5 times. Like, literally almost died 5 times and found my way back. Maybe that is it. Do I think that I'm more special than anyone else that has done that? Absolutely not. But do I think that there are other people out there like me and that there's a gap between what is out there and that's available and people like us, like me, like us? Absolutely. And do I think it would have helped me a lot sooner if that was available? Absolutely. I think that the language in 12-step programs, although they help when you get around that, the language turns people off, especially people that have been through religious trauma. Now, granted, I am not a recovery specialist and I'm not going to keep anybody sober. That's why I don't kind of advertise myself like that, because my recovery does not look like anyone else's recovery at all. And that's perfectly fine. But there needs to be someone out there that speaks hope and the message to people in the language that they can understand and relate to. And only then will some people actually be able to find the path to healing, because the language and the way that these things are taught in a lot of circumstances just really, I think it really turns people off. And it kept me sick for a long time, going to what I was told was the solution and not being able to relate to it in any way. You know, I mean, AA came off like a cult to me at first because they used all the same language that I heard in around churches. And I was like, ugh, you know what I mean? And in some, like, and there are some people who need that program, and that program, if they stick to it, will always, always work for them. But then there's some people who take that blueprint and they use it for a spiritual awakening. And once they're awake, they're like, okay, I can't keep sitting here identifying as my old self anymore, and I need to grow. And so I can't do it here. I'm looking for spiritual growth now. Like, I need to grow and expand from here. And while this program was great and it got me to where I am, I need to keep going, you know? And that's fine. It takes all kinds. It does. It takes all kinds. Exactly. Personally, I couldn't keep showing up in a church basement and raising my hand and calling myself an addict or an alcoholic for the rest of my life. That's not who I am anymore. That doesn't even feel like my past, to be honest with you guys. I look back and or memories will pop up and I'm like, man, that feels like another lifetime. I don't even feel like the same person. It doesn't even feel like it was my life. It feels like I watched it on TV, if that makes any sense.
It's just data.
Yeah, it's because it's not real anymore. I made the energetic shifts to change it. That actually doesn't exist anymore, because we live in a quantum reality where time doesn't exist. guys. And so according to quantum physics, timing doesn't exist. And so the decisions that we make right now affect our past and our present. You know what I mean? And so, yes, we can literally reprogram our reality. We can fix the past. We can set ourselves up for the future. We can step into ourselves at a future point in time. All we got to do is choose to do it and come up with a mindset and show up like that. That's how incredible. We really do live in a very magical reality.
Let me ask you guys a question. May I?
Yeah, go for it.
I don't want to intrude on
No,
your...
have fun. I'm just blabbing.
You're doing great. I mean, maybe you guys have heard of this, and if you have, this is nothing new to you. But you know, everybody says that everything you do is going to affect what happens to you. But what I find fascinating is numerous studies have shown, and I'm not talking about, I mean, scientists will disagree because this is still in the realm of what they call pseudoscience. And I don't agree with it being pseudoscience.
Neither is astrology.
Exactly.
Every king, queen, ruler that ever existed followed that shit to a T.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not for no reason.
Exactly. But what is said is, what if the present affects the past? What if the only way to become the very thing you are meant to become affects the way in which you were raised? So, because the way that it's said is that you can't connect the dots going forward. You can only connect them going backward.
Mm.
So,
I don't know about that.
Well, if you look forward...
But if you're creating your future, then you absolutely can, because you're creating it. You're deciding what it's going to be.
But the future is creating our present, as our present is created our
Sure,
past.
but you only have control in the present. The present's where all your power
Well,
is.
it's all about being here in the now. So it's complicated. I mean, like I could do like an entire 2-hour
well,
like
you can only
podcast
focus on the here and the now, because that's where your power is. But in the process, you wind up affecting both the past and the future.
So, I mean, the theory is that, like, if you want to be the person you want to be in the future, the past has to alternate. And
she said Hawaiian shamans believe that time moves backwards. That's interesting.
See? Yeah, I mean,
that's very interesting.
So everything that you are now because the past adjusted to you becoming who you were meant to be by you going through what you went through in the past. You had to go through what you went through in the past to arrive at where you are now. Just as the same as where you're going to be in the future, what you want to be in the future is adjusting everything that you are right now in the present. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You only can connect them looking backward. You only realize who you are by looking into the past. You know, and then by looking into the past, not by reflecting on it or holding some kind of contentment about it, but by looking back and saying, oh my gosh, yes, that was for a reason. That was for a reason because what you are now affected then, not what is then affected you now. It's I could go on and on about this, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to.
So much fun. When I get tired, sometimes I'm like, Mike, stop. Because I can be like that too, but like, oh my God, he's got so much more energy than I do. He's amazing though, really. I always feel bad but my brain has to turn off at some point. He's like, I'm sorry, I'm going off. And I'm like, no, I'm interested. I'm just so tired right now. Oh man. See, we're cracking them up.
It's I don't know. There's
it's fun. We have so much fun.
The wheels, man. Sometimes you just can't shut them off.
I can too, as long as I get I can stay up all night talking about this stuff as long as I get like a good amount of sleep the night before. You know what I mean? And I'm rested and I've filled myself up with I just recently realized that I am an introvert. I thought that I was an extrovert my whole life. Yeah, go start your meditation. I love your meditations, and I really need to catch one again soon.
Awesome. Yeah.
You're amazing. Thanks so much for coming and talking to us about this. We'll catch you again soon. We're going to have to jump on and join one of your meditations soon. You usually do them on Mondays, right? That's the day we usually do our live. Yeah, we're both behind this week. Figures. Mwah, have a nice evening. They're 3 hours behind us, too. She's in California, I believe. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for
thanks so much for joining us. We have a great conversation all the time. When
I'm curious,
when
though.
we talk to her, we always have fun talking to
What
Aliyah.
time is it? Almost 10?
Yeah, we've been on for almost an hour now.
Are there any questions or any specific topics that are of any interest? That, I mean, I just love other people's interest. My interest is other people's interest. I mean, I would consider myself to be a spiritual guide. I would. I'm not the kind of person that would walk around and say that I'm a mystic and stuff like that. I mean,
no, but I think like one.
Yes, I would consider myself to think like one. I mean, because of my experiences and stuff like that. That, I mean, it was where you would say God led me, and therefore, like I'm always at a high curiosity as to where people want to direct a conversation. I did podcasts, and that was the key point of every one of my podcasts was, tell me what you want to talk about, and because we can only grow by knowing what you want to grow from. So if there is anything, please, just let us know. If not,
anybody watching the replay, please comment, ask questions. We will be happy to answer questions. I will answer questions in the comments for the rest of the week. I probably won't take this training down until at least next week, if I even take it down at all. But so whoever's watching the replay, let us know you're watching the replay, and please put your questions in here. I'm looking over my notes on intuition. I want to see if there's anything else that I wanted to talk about tonight. Anybody that's here that showed up for this, that's coming, that's part of our group, that's part of this community, that's coming to learn and to talk about these types of things together. Obviously, we're all at a point where we're being called to understand ourselves and the world around us a little bit more intimately and a little bit better. And so we're just going to keep showing up, and hopefully we'll be able to talk about all the things that everyone is curious about. But please feel free to leave us requests at any point in time to talk about certain things or to, answer specific questions. And so thank you so much for joining us, whether you're live or on the replay. And we hope you all have an amazing night. We will be back on Monday at 7:30 p.m. Monday evening.
I might be on sooner, though.
Yes.
I might be on either tomorrow or Thursday. I'm not sure which one. It depends on what I come to an arrangement with myself. But if I come to that, I'll let you all know.
Have a nice evening, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in.